Well, long ago, Ava, when I was a little boy, ghost stories were very much part of the entertainment on a winter's night.
I know what Conor Callaghan is.
And my father, that would be your great-grandfather, used to tell us this story about a man called Conor Callaghan and his wife Judy. Now, your great-grandfather lived in a place called Carnaross, which is on the borders of Meath and Cavan. It's actually then on the borders of Leinster and Ulster. And there was a place there outside of little townland called Fegat. And many indeed of the Farley family lived in this Fegat, place called Fegat, which was on the edge of the bog. We were very poor people. And there was this man, Conor Callaghan, lived there with his wife Judy. Now, he used to earn his living by putting in a few ridges of potatoes. He'd have a bit of cabbage. He had a cow to get milk. And he used to feed a pig or two. And the pigs, when the sow would go into young, she'd have little small pigs, which they call bonnets. That was the name that they used to give to little pigs. And he was able to milk the cow and get butter, milk for the house, and he'd get butter then from the cream of the milk. And he was able to have his own potatoes grown on the plot of ground in the edge of the bog, and his own cabbage. And he was able to have an odd rasher then, and he had a few hens, so he'd have eggs. So generally, he didn't need to go to the shop for very, very many of his wants. He had no children, but he had a wife whose name was Judy. And it was some distance from his house to the bog where he used to go out to cut the turf. But he also went out to the bog to cut heather off the bog to put bedding under his cow or under his sow. The sow was the mother pig. And of course he would go to the bog also to cut the turf, and indeed in the cutaway part he had his cabbage and his potatoes growing. And there was on the way out a deep stream in the bog. These streams were there to take away the water that would be lodged in the bog. And he built and improvised a bridge, which was an old piece of a tree that he threw across the deep drain that was to bring him from one side to the other. And he used to negotiate his way across by walking across this stump of a tree. And he would go out and he'd cut a bit of heather, and when he'd have the heather cut, he'd tie it into a bundle and then put it on his back and come and make his way across the Kesh. It was called a Kesh. It was only a lump of a tree, but it was called a Kesh, to get back into the house. He did this on a very regular basis. But one morning, it was a May morning, and he was out of the bog very early, because at that time people used to get up with the sun and go to bed with the sun. So when the sun rose, they got up out of the bed, and when the sun went down, they went to bed, because they had no electric light in those days. He was out cutting the turf this morning. He was cutting the heather to bed down the sow and the pig. And he cut it away with a sickle, which is a conical shaped instrument to cut the heather. And he was in the process of tying the bundle together to bring it in, to put it on his back and bring it in, when he saw in the distance a stranger crossing the bog. And he wondered, because you'd never find anybody out in the bog so early in the morning. And he dallied a bit anyway, until the stranger came up beside him. He was a very well-dressed man, the stranger. A lovely suit of clothes on him, nice pair of shoes on him. And he's Conor in the good traditional way that people were at that time. He saluted the man and he said, "Good morning to you, sir," says Conor. "Oh, good morning to you," says the stranger. "It's a lovely morning, it's a nice day, but to be out on the bog so early," says Conor. "Oh, well," says the stranger, "I'm after travelling a long way," he said. And he said, "Tell you the truth," he said, "I am tired, I'm kind of exhausted. I was coming into this part of the country and I was told I should look out for a man by the name of Conor Callaghan." He said, "I have a message for Conor Callaghan." "God," says Conor, "I don't know. I know all the people around," he says, "here from 3 parishes. And there's nobody that I know by that name around here." "Oh my God," stranger, "that's awful," he said. "I'm after travelling for the last 3 days and I thought I was at my journey's end. I was told that I might be lucky if I came here." But says Conor, "I'm afraid not," he says. No, wait, let's see, no. Well, he says, of course, he said, "My own name is Conor Callaghan, but there'd be no reason why a very respectable, well-dressed man like you would be looking for the like of me. No," he says, "there's nobody be that name around here." "Hold it," says the stranger a minute. "Maybe you're the man I'm looking for. By any chance," he said, "you wouldn't have a sister by the name of Bridie?" "Oh God," says Conor, "I had," he says. "I had a sister," he says. "Bridie," he says. And, "oh, that's many years ago. She's gone over 40 years from here now," he says. "She went off did she go to Dundalk? She went to somewhere up the north anyway, Dundalk it could be. I never heard tale or titles of her this 40 years." He says, "Stranger, you're the very man I'm looking for." He said, "Your sister Bridie is very unwell. She's actually dying. And she sent for me, she told me to come and look for her brother Conor. She wants to see him before she died. So, like a good man, maybe you go in and change your clothes and get ready and come with me over to Dundalk." Now, to get to Dundalk from Fegat to Carnaross at that time, there were no trains and no buses. It was long before the days of bicycles. You walked it. And it was 40 miles nearly, 35 miles anyway, from Fegat to Dundalk. When he says, "and change your clothes and get ready, put on your good clothes," "oh, because," says Conor. "No," he says, "change me clothes," he says. "So this is all the clothes I have." She says, we don't have much finery around here," he says. And added to that, he says, "Do you know what? Should I have the wife Judy inside to mind and look after?" And he says, I have a couple of sows," he says, "and one of them is due to farrow. And he says, I have the cow, and sure, I have all the little work to do. I couldn't leave here," he says. "Oh," says the stranger, You'll have to," he says. "I can't go back to Dundalk except to bring you with me. I was told I had to bring you with me before I come back. So like a good man." "Well, look," says the stranger, "I have an idea. I'll tell you what," he said. "You'll be able to find your way to Dundalk, and I look after the cow and the animals, and I look after Judy," he says, "and you look much the same. Conor was a big man. You look after me," he says. "We'll change clothes," he says, "and you can wear my clothes and good clothes here," he says, "and go to the dog, and I put on your clothes, and I'll bring in the heather and do all the jobs around the place and mind the place for you till you get back." Because he says that's the only way that I can ever get satisfaction from your sister, both of us. I work for your sister above in Dundalk. And that was their instructions. So there on that May morning, on the edge of the bog, the stranger stripped and took off his clothes, and Conor stripped, and Conor put on the stranger's clothes, good clothes, suit of clothes, shoes and all, and the stranger put on Conor's old tattered clothes, worn old clothes, and the old worn old boots that were tied with sugan ropes or hay ropes, and Conor's old hat, very torn, and the stranger, now dressed in Conor's clothes, was going to go about doing the jobs that Conor would do that morning. And Conor, now dressed in the stranger's clothes, was going to head off for Dundalk. So we have to make up our minds. We'll follow each of them. Which of them will we follow now first? We'll follow the stranger, let's say, now dressed in Conor's clothes. So the stranger, anyway, now with Conor's old boots and old tattered clothes and hat on him, he got down. Conor had a big bundle of heather cut and tied with a sugan heather rope around it. And he got down underneath it and he started to lift and hoist it up until eventually, with great difficulty, he got a huge bundle of heather on his shoulder and proceeded to go in towards the house with the heather to, of course, use it to bed down the cow and the pig. And he had the rope around his neck this way, and next thing he made his way as best he could until he came to the little cache, or the bridge that was across the stream. And he took one step, and then he took another, and it was very difficult to keep his balance. And when he got halfway across the cache, his foot slipped, and down he went, head over heels, into the bottom of the deep bog hole, full of water, the rope tied around him, and he lost his life. He was drowned. There he is, lying in the bottom of the drain, and his hat floating on the surface of the water. And meanwhile, inside of the house, Julie, his wife, was inside, and she had a couple of eggs boiled and had the breakfast ready for Conor, the nice oat bread and all ready for him. And time went on and she wondered what was keeping Conor that he wasn't coming in for his breakfast. And like any good wife would do, she decided she would go out to investigate. She headed down across the Haggard and out across the Haggard field, off towards the bog. And when she came to the cache, God above, what did she see? Only lying below in the bottom of the bog hole, in the bog stream, was her darling Conor. And he drowned, and his hat floating on the top of the water. Oh my God in heaven. Her whole world was turned upside down. She didn't know what to do, and she went back screaming into the house. And she called the neighbours, and all together anyway, and sure, arrangements was made. The priest was told up in Carnaross. Conor had been drowned, and the neighbours all gathered for the wake. The wake was when people gathered in to sympathise with the dead woman, and sure, of course, there was a tradition at that time that there was plenty of bottles of Guinness brought down, because people used to celebrate actually a good funeral as well as a good wedding. People would have the few drinks and talk and tell lovely stories about Conor and the lovely decent man he was, where his brothers and all the stories about his sister that went away long ago to Dundalk, all the things that happened. And as they were there anyway, of course they got a bit merry, of course. Eventually the undertakers came out from Kells and they removed the corpse from the bog drain and put it into a coffin and brought it off for burial. And meanwhile, the prayers, there was plenty of prayers said and rosary said and more drinking. And the final night of the wake, Julie was inside. And now Julie was a good looking woman. Now she was a woman about 40 years of age, but a good looking woman, you know. And she had a nice bit of ground. And there was a man called Mickey Taylor. He got the name of Mickey. I don't know what his second name was, but he was a tailor by trade. A tailor was a man that used to make suits and clothes and all that kind of thing. And he was known as Mickey the Tailor. And he was there at the wake and with a few drinks in him and one thing and another. He was looking over at Julie and he said, God, she's not a bad looking woman at all. God, you know, this is a fine looking woman, a widow woman. He says to himself, God, she's a nice little place here and I have me bit of a trade here. And little thoughts went through his head that maybe he might like to think about making a proposal. And that maybe he proposed to Julie and that maybe she might actually marry him and maybe they could marry together with his trade. He'd be able to mind the place for Julie. And he approached Julie, put the proposal to Julie, and she says, oh, go away. She said, don't be talking about things like that. Poor Conor, she said, is not yet buried in his grave. She says, and you're talking about things like this. I look at Julie, he says, time is time, and, you know, the jobs will get the better of you, and maybe now I'll look after you, and, you know, you have no Conor anymore, and I have the bit of a trade, and I'll be able to do this sewing, and I'll be able to look after the place and mind you, and it mightn't be such a bad idea. Didn't he persuade Julie anyway to agree to marry him? But of course, that didn't have the marriage properly celebrated, and that meant going up to Father Kelly above in Dundalk, above in Carnaross, and asking Father Kelly would he officiate at the wedding. So Father Kelly was a man very fond of a few pound, and he said, look, I don't know, he says, I can't do this, this wouldn't do at all, he says, I don't agree with this. But Mickey anyway says, look at Father, he says, I'll tell you what it is, if you marry us, he says, I'll give you the sow. We'll give you the sow on condition that you marry us. Because that was a different story, you know, the sow was worth a good few pound, and the priest could do with a few pound as well as everybody else. So the priest decided, right, he'd agree to marry Julie and Mickey the day after the funeral on condition that Mickey, the tailor, would let him have the sow. So the funeral was over and the priest Julie married Mickey and Julie, and they settled down to start off with their life. And we'll leave them there for a little bit now after getting married. And we'll go back after the stranger now. The real Conor now, of course, but now dressed in this stranger's clothes. And he started off the long walk to Dundalk. And eventually, anyway, after 2 or 3 days, he got to Dundalk. And he sought out the place, and it was a most fabulous looking place where his sister was living. she was one of the real rich of Dundalk at the time. She'd married this man and he had loads of money, and the man had died and now she was there on her own. And of course she felt a little bit lonely and started to think of the old times and the brother Conor that she hadn't seen for 40 years. And she was there in bed, and the next thing was Conor found the house, made his way up to the door into the hall, and said to her, "I'm Conor Callaghan, I'm your brother Conor." And she looked at him, and she saw the suit of clothes and the boots that were on him. And she knew, you see, she was a businesswoman, and there was some sign on the clothes of the firm she was associated with. And when she saw the sign, she recognised the sign. And the only person that had that clothes sign on them was this man, her servant boy, that she had sent off to Fegat to look for Conor. So she was horrified that her brother should arrive thus dressed. "Oh," she says, "look," and she says, "you're disgracing me," she said. "I have all my decent friends here," she said, "in Dundalk, all respectable people, and you, my brother, you come in here dressed in my servant boy's clothes to make a disgrace of me, to scandalise me," she said, "in front of all my friends. Here," she says, and she opened her pouch and she took out a £20 note. "Go down the street and get yourself a decent suit of clothes before you attempt to come back up into this room and make a show of me." Conor bent down and he picked up the £20 note. And he looked at it and he said, "A new suit of clothes? A new suit of clothes? Below in Fegat? Below in the bog? What in the name of Jesus would I be doing with a new suit of clothes on me below in Fegat? And £20? Sure, God, that'd last us the guts of a year. We buy everything we want. God, we could buy lots of things for £20, me and Julie." "Oh, feck it, she must be a main old so-and-so anyway," he says, with the way she's carrying on. And he got disgusted with the sister, and he stuck the £20 note in his pocket. He says, "I'll go back home to Julie with the £20. And he says, I'll get me clothes, me old clothes," he says, "and I'll be as right as rain." And he did just that. He put the £20 in his pocket. "Goodbye, good luck to you," he says to himself. And off he headed for the 3-day walk back to Carnaross. Back to Fegat the whole way. Now, at this time, as you know, the funeral had taken place, and Julie and Mickey had got married. See, the priest had married them because the priest had promised a sow to them. And of course, they went to bed as a husband and wife would, Julie and thing. And it was a Saturday night. And the priest, he thought, and he said to himself, "God," he says, "I better send down for to get that pig brought up to Carnaross." So he sent Paddy Orr used to do the work for the priest around the broken house, Patsy Orr, and Mickey Chance, who were two local fellas, and he gave them a shilling. And he says, "Go down to Fegat, to Conor Callaghan's place, and the sow is down there, and bring a bit of a rope with you, and put it around the pig's leg, and bring the sow back up here," he says to me, "payment for carrying out the marriage of Mickey and Julie." So the lads anyway headed off for Fegat, which is about 1.5 miles away. And they went down anyway. It's just coming dark. And they came to the pig house. Now, it so happened that same Saturday night, Conor had arrived back at Fegat from Dundalk. And then Conor came to the door of the house, you see. Went to go open the door of his house to get in, to tell Julie the news of what had happened in Dundalk. And the door was locked. Julie and Mickey had the door locked at night. And Conor knocked on the door. Are you in, Julie? No. Answer. Julie, are you in, Julie? Julie, Mickey and Julie woke up in the bed. God, says Julie, that's Conor's voice. I know it, she says. How could it be Conor, says Mickey? Sure, Conor is buried. He's dead and buried. No, she says, I know it's Conor's voice. More knocking. Are you in, Julie? Oh my God, she says, it is surely Conor, it's Conor's ghost, she says. I knew it was wrong, she says, this is terrible what we're doing. This is awful, and they jumped out, and the two of them jumped out of the bed, opened the window, and off in their night attire and away with them. Off across the bog away, they didn't know where they were going. But off they went. Conor, after knocking a few times and getting no response, he said to himself, "Jeez," he says, "that's strange." But then of course he says it's Saturday. And maybe Julie, he says, went into Kells with the butter and the eggs and sold them. And maybe she met a few of the friends inside in Kells. And maybe he said, sure, maybe she decided to stay with them in Kells for the night. And sure, I'll tell you what I'll do, he says, sure. Look, I'm tired anyway. Do you know what I'll do? I'll go out, he says, and I'll lay in behind the pig, be nice and warm, and I'll lay down on a bed of straw behind the pig, and the sow, and I'll be nice and comfortable. And thus, tired, footsore and weary, he lay down beside the sow with his blackthorn stick by his side and was soon sound asleep. Right? Now, as I said, it was Saturday night, and the priest that same night had decided that he would send Patsy or Mickey Chance down for the sow. So the pair of lads came down for the sow anyway, and to Fegat. And when they came to the shed where the pig, they call the shed where the pig is housed a pigsty. Pigsty, that's the name of the shed. They came to the pigsty door anyway, and they opened the door gently. And they put a little rope furl around the rope to put it around the pig's leg. And of course, when you go up to an animal, as you know yourself, even with a horse or with anything, you walk up very gently. So the way you address a pig is yohi, yohi, yohi. Yohi, yohi, yohi. Somebody told me that means, yohi means a sort of a rash, yohi, yohi, yohi. But that's the way you call a pig, yohi, yohi. So they came over to the pig anyway with the rope in the dark at night. And they came over to yohi, yohi, to not frighten the pig, to get the rope around the pig's leg. Yohi, yohi, yohi. Yohi, 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 they were saying. Didn't Conor, laying behind the pig, woke up. Jesus! They're trying to steal the pig on me. Holy God Almighty, he says. The villains, they're out to steal the pig. Oh, the blackguards, he says. And he grabbed the blackthorn stick. I know you blackguards, I know you. And as hard as ever he came down and bet the pair of lads, black and blue, out of the shed and away. And away with them, as fast as their legs could carry them. And Conor lay down again to sleep. And the lads arrived up at Carnaross, as they came racing up to the parochial house, to the priest, to Father Kelly. Oh, Father, Jule. Conor the ghost, Conor is below and he's after attacking us. Oh, come on. Ghost be damned, says the priest. You pair of blackguards. I know what happened to you. I gave you the shilling, he says, and you went down and you went to the pub and he says you started drinking and you had a row with one another and you bet one another up. And now he says you come back here with the lie in your teeth to me and told me that go back, he says, and get the pig. God says, Patsy, I won't. Oh, neither will I, says Mickey. No way will I go back. No way am I going back down there ever again. I'll never go back again. Please, go back. No. Godfather, you better go yourself. Godfather, I'll tell you what, Father, if you come, you'll be able to look after it. We'll go if you go, Father. Right, says the priest. Right, says Father Kelly. Come on. So, Father Kelly and the two boys headed back for Faygat. And on down they came the Conor Road, and on down across the hills of Faygat, until they arrived at the pig's sty door. Conor Callaghan up to the door. Now, says Father Kelly, go in and open it. Bring out the pig. Because I won't, says Patsy. And neither will I, says Mickey. Now, Father, he says, you better go in and get it. Right, give me the ropes, says Father Kelly. He grabbed the rope. Yohi, says Father Kelly. Going up to the pig. Yohi. Conor woke up again. God, he says, the blackguards are back again with more help, he says. Peaches, he says, if they think they'll scale my pow and Julie's away, they're under a hell of a mistake. He grabbed the black towel. Yohi, says the priest getting near. I'll yohi, says Father. I'll yohi, you blackguard. You thundered blackguard! I know you! Get the hell out of here! Get out of this place at once! Go to hell with the berry out there! And he bent the living daylights out of them and away with them, as fast as their legs could carry them. Back home to Carnaross. Morning dawned. Conor, with his tiredness, didn't wake up until about 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I think last Mass was at 11:30. And Conor woke up. God, he says, this is Sunday. He says, I better wash my face and get ready to go to Mass. Now, to get to Faygat, to Carnaross, you had to, there was a shortcut across the fields, or it was about 2.5 miles maybe. I thought it was 1.5 miles. It's about 2.5 miles. You had to go round the roads every 2.5 miles, but it'd be only about 3/4 of a mile to cross the fields. They used to call that the Ballock Thrust now, the shortcut. The shortcut was across the 19 acres, the Nosky. Up Archdale's used to live above the Nosky there. And Conor, anyway, when he woke up, sure, he washed himself and got himself tidied up as best he could, and he says he'd head off for Mass. So, like, you guided yourself more or less with the position of the sun in those days. You didn't have watches or clocks and them things. So, when you got to the top of the Nosky field, there was a river at the bottom of the hill, maybe about 500 or 600 yards away, and the people used to bring their shoes and stockings in their hand, and they'd go on their bare feet, and they'd wash their feet in the stream, take off their shoes and stockings, wash their boots and stockings, the case might be, wash their feet, and then they'd run up and down the bank until they were dry, and then when they get up, picking their way, when they get up close to the church, they put their shoes and stockings on them, and they'd then go in very well dressed, go into Mass. Last Mass anyway, of course, The story of what happened the night before had spread after in the village of Carnaross at first mass, the goings on and what had happened to the priest and that. Of course, Conor knew nothing about this, you see, because he was in the big stay. So when the people were washing their feet up on the hill, about 500 or 600 yards away, didn't they spot Conor Callaghan up at the top of the hill, making his way. They knew his gait, his way of walking and his stick and all. And when they looked up and saw the figure coming to charge for the church, some with one stocking on, one stocking off, one boot on, one boot off, whatever way they were attired, they went charged, raised as hell for leather and into the church. And the priest was just after coming out on the altar. Father, Father, Jude, Father, Father. Carnaross, the Conor is coming down the road. We're in trouble, Father, Father, Father. So the priest said to the congregation, "Now be very quiet, everybody," he says. "I want you all to listen carefully to me. You're to come on up through the church, out through the sacristy door, and on down at the back of the laurel hedge at the back of the church, and out at McInerney's gate, and go home as quietly as you can. Say nothing to nobody." When Conor saw the people running, he decided he must be late for mass, and he quickened his pace. And he came up, and he came into the church, and there wasn't a sinner in the church. Nobody. "God," he said, "I thought I was late. Then I thought I must be early or maybe late. There's nobody. I don't know what the hell what's going on." So, not knowing what to do or what happened, he decided anyway that he'd walk down to the 100 crossroads and go the long way home. And he walked down to the 100 crossroads and turned right for Conor over towards the rock. And then he meet this man coming with a load of turf. He lived in Kells, I forget his name now. He lived in Kells anyway, and being Sunday morning, he was after cutting some turf on the bog, and he went down to bring home his jug of turf with his donkey and cart. And he was on his way back after filling his load of turf back for Kells, and he met Conor, and Conor talked to him, and Conor asked him, was there anything strange or anything happening? No, the dang the hate there was, nothing happened, nothing that the stranger from Kells had heard of. And Conor struck the cat with him anyway, and he said, "Sure, I'll go back up again." So he walked up the road with the stranger. And as they came to the forge, Terry McCartney's forge, actually I was born in the house across the road from where that forge, it's on a straight about 500 yards from the village of Carnaross. And as they came at the straight, the man from Kells with the donkey load of turf and Conor coming back towards Carnaross, Paddy was out doing a few jobs around the broken house. And didn't he spot Conor in the ghost of Conor? What? The Conor's ghost coming up the road again. And didn't he came racing in to tell Father Kelly. Father Kelly says, "Go away now." He says, "Leave this to me. Leave this to me." He says, "I'll have to attend to this." So Conor came up anyway and saw Father Kelly. Father Kelly came out and he says, "God, Father," he says, "what happened to you?" "Holy God Almighty, what happened to you, Father? Who was it put them marks on you? Who was it? Who in the hell? That has to be a baiting you, Godfather. Who would have done that?" "So help me God," says Conor, "the man that laid a hand on the priest of this parish, I'll hang for him," he says. "I'll make sure," he says, "he doesn't get away with this. I will give him tally come home. Anybody that laid his hand on the priest of my parish. It's not going to happen," he says, "and I'm going to find out who it was, and I'm going to make them pay for it." Come here, says Father Kelly. Come here, Conor. Come in and sit down. I'm afraid I have something terrible to tell you. Conor, Julie says, I've a shocking story to tell you. Look at, he says, and I've been involved in it, he says, and it's a terrible thing to have happened. I'll tell you what it was, he says. I'm afraid, he says, Julia has been found faithful, he says. He says, Julie is after getting married. I married her, he says, to Mickey Taylor. He says, and they're married. He says, they thought you would, when you were dead in the bog hole, and you were dead, and Conor, he says, they gave me the sow, he says, to carry out the ceremony, the marriage ceremony, and he says, oh, God help me, he says, what am I going to do? I'll never get forgiveness of all this. This is terrible, he says. And he says, I went down to collect the sow, he says, and sure, it must have been you was there. Oh, Jesus Almighty. Says Conor, look, Father, he says, Father Judy says, what can we do? We have to make up with it. Oh, anyway, poor Conor heard the story, and he knew then the problems that there was. And the poor old Conor, he decided anyway he'd have to carry on with life, and he went back down the road and as far as Van Hendrik, and he headed across the rock and up towards the rock hill and down for Vegas. And he went down and he pushed in the door, and he put down the kettle and he made himself a sup of tea. And sure, if poor old Conor didn't live happy ever after, sure, maybe you and me may.
Very good.
Now do you know the story?
Thank you. How to stop Lisa?
Huh?